Hi there, buds. Today we're going to talk about what used to be my number one enemy. That's fungus gnats. Like, literally, they're the grossest thing ever. When you have fungus gnats in your house, it's the most annoying thing in the world because they're so tiny. They fly around everywhere. You almost feel like your house is dirty because you see all these little gnats flying around, but you know it's not. You know that you literally just have fungus gnats, and it's discouraging. It's something that in the beginning, when you first get them, you think that like it's the end of the world. Like you think that you're not gonna want to grow plants anymore. Um, I genuinely went through that because I don't like bugs in my house. But when I say that there are ways to manage fungus gnats and there are ways to make sure that you almost have none, like I literally have none in my house. Like I cannot tell you the last time that I saw a fungus gnat, and that is such an improvement because when I say we were infested with them last year, we were infested with them last year. Like I felt like I needed to be charging those bitches rent. Over the past year, I've implemented a few tips to keep fungus gnats away, keep them down, and make sure that they don't even start to begin with, and they've actually worked, so I thought I would sit here and share a couple of them with you guys. My first tip sounds kind of obvious, but keep your tent clean. Even like small stains and stuff like that, because I noticed that people don't use like a coaster or any type of like saucer underneath their pots normally when they're growing cannabis, because grow tents normally come with a liner, and so it kind of encourages you to not use anything underneath because it's a waterproof surface that you can clean easily. But I've noticed that people don't always clean them, and it looks like it's just a stain or something in your grow tent normally, but that's mold. That is mold. Normally there's like a white ring that will develop where you've been watering your cannabis plants. That's like a hard water or mold, and you're gonna get fungus gnats that way. Like fungus gnats are attracted to funguses, mold, and moisture. So any type of like dirtiness in your grow tent, you're gonna want to make sure to clean it out. My personal routine is every 3 to 4 weeks, I take everything out of the grow tent, I spray it down completely with the cleaner of your choice, and scrub it down completely just to make sure that it is 100% clean. And when I say scrub it down, I don't just mean the floor of the grow tent. I also wipe down the walls of the grow tent as well, just so that it is like literally a sterile environment. That's kind of how you want to treat your grow tents, is a sterile environment. It's just gonna make it an easier growing experience. Which leads me to tip number 2. Do treat your grow tent as a sterile environment. Don't bring foreign objects into your grow tent once you've started a growth cycle. So like you guys may notice in some of my grow tents, I have a couple of different types of plants growing in there. I don't just grow cannabis in every single grow tent. Like one of my grow tents has caladiums in it. I would not go put a caladium in my grow tent midway through the grow. The caladiums would start in the grow tent with the cannabis plants. Bringing in foreign soil and foreign plant material into your grow tent is just not a good idea because you don't know what is in that soil. Even if it's fresh soil that you purchase from the store. I have purchased soil from the store before and opened it up, and there have been fungus gnats in the soil before. Just because it's new does not mean that it is not contaminated. So I would treat anything that is not in your grow tent from the beginning of the grow as foreign and not allow it into your grow tent. That may be a little extreme, but when you're growing cannabis plants, you don't want anything to go wrong with them. Like, it takes a long time for these things to develop. It's expensive for the seeds. It's expensive for the nutrients. And like, you just don't want to waste all that time and energy by bringing something into your tent that's going to end up giving you fungus gnats or some other problem, because there's tons of different pests that can live in soil. So I would say keep your grow tent contained. Okay, my next tip has to be the biggest one. Stop overwatering your plants. You're only going to get fungus gnats if you're overwatering your plants. And it's really hard when you're a beginner to know when to water your plants. But the easiest way, and I know that this is hard, but it is to completely let your plants dry out in between waterings. 100% dry out. I know. It just seems hard when you're first getting into growing plants to let a plant dry out. You think that you should just keep it moist all the time. Wrong. Wrong. Only water when your plant is dry. If you're having problems with that, if you're watering when you think it's dry and you're still getting fungus gnats, I would say cut back an additional day for watering because it's probably still just a little bit too soon. My way of knowing how to water my cannabis plants or when I should water my cannabis plants is by using the knuckle test, which is like the tried and true test that anybody tells you on when you should water a plant. Basically, you take your finger, you put it down into the soil of your plant to your knuckle. If it is dry and you don't feel any moisture, then you can water. If you feel any moisture at all, do not water that plant. It is okay. If you're somebody who's still having problems with getting watering down, I would advise two different things. Number one, use mycorrhizae when you are planting your cannabis plant. It will make the watering so much easier because you will have to water your plants a lot less than you normally have to. Thus just making it less of an opportunity for you to overwater altogether. I have a whole video on mycorrhizae. If you click up here, I'll tell you all about it. The second thing I would do is add mosquito bits to the soil of your pots. You can add this in the beginning. I just look at the back of the container and it'll tell you how much that you should add to a pot in order to keep fungus gnats away. If you add them to your soil, basically what's happening is that every single time that you water your plant, it's going to release a little bit of the active ingredient every single time that you water. It is 100% organic, so you're not gonna have to worry about anything harming you or like making your product contaminated. My favorite way to use mosquito bits though is to make a tea with them. So I'll add them to water, mix it up, let it sit for probably 2 hours, strain out the mosquito bits, and then water my cannabis plants using that water. I'll go ahead and add any nutrients that I want to use and pH balance that water just like I normally would. But using a mosquito bits tea is a really good way to kind of eradicate the fungus gnats over, it probably takes about 10 days. Like there's nothing that you can do that's just going to get rid of a full-blown infestation of fungus gnats like that, but this will get rid of them in about 10 days if you're diligent on using the tea. My last tip to keep fungus gnats at bay would be keep your humidity in check. I feel like a lot of cannabis growers on the internet advocate for using humidifiers a lot in grow tents, and I understand that if your humidity is super low in your home environment. Most people's homes though run about 40% humidity on average. So that's not super duper low. When you start to add plants to a grow tent, it will automatically increase the humidity in that space. Then when you add the grow light, that adds heat. It makes it even more humid. I have noticed that on average, a grow tent is about 10% more humid than your actual room environment without even adding a humidifier. I personally believe people are overusing humidifiers in cannabis grow situations. In fact, I don't think people talk enough about dehumidifiers because that's what's actually helped me out with growing. The reason I would say try to get your humidity in check and keep it within the recommended guidelines for veg and flower is because if you don't keep your humidity in check, your soil will take longer to dry out. You want that soil to dry out regularly. Leaving moist media in a place for an extended period of time will only introduce fungus. And once you start introducing that fungus, those gnats will find it and you'll have a full-blown infestation, and you don't want that. Those are my tips on how to keep fungus gnats at bay. I hope you guys found this helpful. I know that having fungus gnats is not a fun problem to have at all, and it's kind of discouraging because it's not an easy thing to get rid of once you have a full-blown infestation. It's a lot easier to just kind of prevent the fungus gnats from happening to begin with, and I hope that some of these tips will have helped you guys keep the fungus gnats at bay. But yeah, if anybody else has any other suggestions, leave a comment down below on how you guys keep fungus gnats away, because I genuinely think I've gotten it under lock. Like, I was having so many fungus gnats last year, and this year I feel like I literally have seen maybe two, two fungus gnats, which I think that's pretty normal. I have a lot of house plants and cannabis plants, so you would expect one or two, but I don't have an infestation, which is so nice because it's kind of embarrassing. Like, you don't want to have people over with all the. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys around for whatever Sony activity or video I come up with for next time. Bye, guys.